The Starfleet life with the USS Dauntless. Connect with our online community. Beam down for away missions. Work to improve yourself. Enjoy social events. Make a difference. Do you have what it takes to be a Starfleet officer? Greetings, everybody. I am Admiral Swart, Commanding Officer of the USS Dauntless, and this is the briefing with the Admiral for stardate -268567.1. I am the Admiral in question, and today we're going to be talking about what to expect from the onboarding process. If you are a new crew member, what is that going to look like? We're going to be talking about it both from the point of view of an applicant as you're going through the process, what can you expect, and also some of the reasoning behind why the various steps are in place that you have to face as you go along. What's happening behind the scenes? What are we doing to support you on your journey joining the crew of the Dauntless? Before I get into it, I want to acknowledge our crew members who are already in the chat. I see you there, Captain Van Grienen. I see Colonel Hubert. I see Chief Kotzer, and I see Chief Newton. Thanks for joining, guys. Hopefully we'll have some more join as we go. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If you're an active duty crew member, you're welcome to join us in Discord in the screening room channel for these sessions live, and you can chat to us there. We're also streaming live to YouTube. You're welcome to watch us there. If you're not an active duty crew member, I will, in theory, be able to see your comments as they come through, but that remains untested, so we'll have to see how that goes. Otherwise, if you're not able to make it because it's kind of an awkward time in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, these videos are uploaded both to YouTube and Facebook after the fact, so you're welcome to check them out there, and you can drop a comment in the comments section on either of those places, and I'll good chance hopefully to address them directly or perhaps in an upcoming video. That's how this will go. All right, so let's talk about the onboarding process. So this is the process that a new applicant goes through when somebody applies to join the USS Dauntless. Now, before we get into the various steps of it, there's one sort of philosophical underpinning to how we've designed this process that's worth explaining up front. We could, in theory, make this process as frictionless as possible. You fill in one form and you're good to go. And in fact, we have had that as the setup in the past. But what we found was there are a lot of people who would sign up to the Dauntless and then we'd never hear from them again. Now, that's perfectly fine. Not everybody's cut out to be a Starfleet officer, and maybe you only figure that out once you've actually signed up for the Dauntless and you've seen what we do, and then you realize that maybe this isn't for you, and you lose interest and off you go. That's fine. That's acceptable. The problem is with that there is an administrative overhead for each new member that joins the USS Dauntless. There is paperwork, for lack of a better word, that needs to be done by various administrative personnel, volunteers within the Dauntless to manage each new member that comes through. And if a member has gone through the process and now all of that paperwork has been done and then we never hear from them again, that means that all of that work has been wasted. And there's still ongoing work because we have a protocol for attempting to reconnect with that member for months after the fact, even after their last contact. So in order to avoid all that unnecessary expenditure of resources, as time has progressed and our systems have become a little bit more complicated, we have taken a deliberate decision to not make the onboarding process any easier. We've allowed it to become increasingly complex, adding extra steps to the process as kind of a filter mechanism or as a test of determination, if you'd like to think of it in those terms, in that only applicants who are really serious about joining the Dauntless make it through to the end of the onboarding process and join the crew as fully fledged and dedicated and brave and Star Trek loving staff lead officers, which is really the kind of personnel that we're hoping to attract here in the Dauntless. All right, so enough preamble. Let's get to the actual process. Before we start, we've got one more. Uh, we've got one question here from Chief Kotza. That's how I got reached after a year of struggling to get in contact with me because Hotmail was blocked and still cause issues. Yeah, that happens. That was one of the hurdles that happens. Is email connectivity is something of a hassle, and I'm actually going to address that as we go a little bit further. All right, here we go. Let's look at this. All right, so this is the preferred method through which all new applicants join the USS Dauntless, which is the join form on our website. On the menu of our website, you'll find it there. It's called Join the Crew. There's links to it all over the place. Ideally, this is where people will attempt to join. This is where they'll begin their journey as a member of the Dauntless crew. It's not the only way that people come in. The most common other way is that members will join Starfleet International, SFI, and they'll come in that way. We'll look at that in a moment. Let's first look through this form. So this form asks you all the relevant information that you need in order to become a member of the Dauntless. So first, it's basic personal information. So we need to know your name. This is actually more complicated than you might think. A lot of people who discover us and haven't yet gotten a sense of what our sort of feel, what our tone, what it's like to be a Starfleet officer, might be tempted to use a fake name, whether it's a role-playing character name or a gamer tag or something like that. And we really discourage that kind of thing. We're a bunch of real people here doing real things, and we'd rather be using real names. I know that there are some people who like to use a pseudonym in certain activities so that they can keep their personal and professional lives separate. I don't really understand why people would want to do that, but I know that it's a thing that people do, and so that's fine. All that we ask is that when you put your name in here, I'm not asking for your government ID. I don't need to know your legal name, but please give us a name that you're going to continue using. Changing your name or using different names in different parts of your Starfleet career confuses everybody, even down to things like the name that you have on your Facebook profile should be the name that you have on the Dauntless, or else we're going to be confusing people forever for the duration of your Starfleet career as to who are we actually talking about. Now, of course, people also change their names over time. People get married, they take on new surnames, things like that. Those kind of complications do arise, and when they do, we do our best to manage that kind of thing. But ideally, we want to consider your name permanent. The name that you put in here is the name that we're going to call you by forever, probably. So please no silliness, no jolly pirate nicknames or anything like that. Just put your name in there, please. Second is your email address so that we can contact you. Now, here is where the Hotmail issue came in that Chief Kotza just mentioned. Hotmail is a bit of is not an ideal service provider for us because a lot of our systems here in the Dauntless are based in Google. Our website here is a Google site. You might recognize the layout. We use Google Drive a lot for our internal document sharing, although Discord is our communications platform of choice. It's no longer Google Groups. All of our other stuff is all connected via Google, and it just makes it much easier if you have a Gmail address. There's no third-party connections required or anything like that. It just goes straight into Gmail. So we prefer a Gmail address, but any email address should be fine. Next is your location. We're not asking for your street address. We just want to know what city you live in. So where in the world are you from? This will help us to allocate you to an away team. We covered away teams in a previous mission. Where did you hear about us? This is just from marketing research point of view. Where did you learn more about us? Recruited by. This is for rank promotion purposes. If some other member of the crew recommended you and they recruited you to the Dauntless, you want to put their name in here so that they get the appropriate attribution when your membership application is processed, so that they get the credit for having recruited you, which may count towards their rank promotion in the future. Age group, we don't need to know your actual age. We just need to know if you are under 18 or if you are an adult. Under 18s are called cadets, and they have special considerations under certain circumstances, so we have to handle them delicately. So we need to know if you're a child or an adult, basically. Those are the only requirements we have there. Next, we need to know your Discord username. This actually reminds me of something I should have mentioned earlier, and that is that the onboarding process has a lot of moving parts, as you'll see. And as a result, these things change over time. The details of the process will be adjusted constantly. I'm remembering it now because we added this field to this form this morning. We only made Discord our official communication channel a couple of months ago, and so there are still changes in the works that need to be updated to reflect that. One of those was adding this field, your Discord username. So details of this process will change over time. The general principle of the process should remain more or less the same. So if you are viewing this video months or years in the future and you've noticed that the form that you're filling in doesn't look quite like the one I've got here on the screen, that's not surprising. These things are going to shift slightly from time to time, but the general principle should remain the same. If it doesn't, if we do decide to completely re-engineer our onboarding process at some point in the future, I will create an updated version of this briefing video. So please look out for that if I'm speaking to you in the future. All right, so we ask you for your Discord username. This is so that we can verify you when you join our Discord server. Just simplifies that step in the process when it gets to that. I'm not going to fill in these fields right now because it's not necessary. So the form actually won't let me advance to the next page, but I can tell you what's in the next page, and that is your privacy preferences. So we are compliant with various international privacy laws. We actually have a compliance standard within Starfleet called the Starfleet Data Privacy Policy, which is updated annually and is kept up to date with all various international privacy laws. And what that requires of us is to make sure that we handle your personal identifying information, PII, appropriately. We are certified, at least internally, professionals in handling that kind of information, and we need to, among other things, get your consent for how we handle your personal identifying information. Now, if you've already signed up for Starfleet International, you'll have given them some of your PII and you'll have given them permission to handle that data. We need slightly different set of data than Starfleet International needs, and we handle the data in slightly different ways. So we have a different set of permissions to ask of you. So on the second page on the join form is just clarifying the 4 or 5 different criteria under which we handle your personal identifying information, and in hopefully ensuring that you understand what we are doing with it and obtaining your consent for doing so. All right, so that is the join form. As I mentioned, there's an alternate way through which you might join the Dauntless, and that is through joining Starfleet International. So when you sign up for Starfleet International, you'll fill out a form kind of like this, and on this form is a chapter selector. So listed here are all of the active chapters in Starfleet right now, and we are on that list. USS Dauntless is right there. If you select USS Dauntless here, you will be added to the USS Dauntless as your chapter of choice. Now, if you've done that before completing the join form on our website, I will get an email. Usually this old database system is kind of creaky. It's going to be updated hopefully, or replaced hopefully, in the foreseeable future. But for now, this is what we're working with. It's a little creaky and old, and sometimes the email notifications get lost in the ether, so I don't always see it. But within at least a few weeks, I'll have checked the database and I'll have noticed that we have a new crew member on the system, at which point I will personally reach out to you via email, because you'll have provided your email address in this form. And I will direct you back to this join form so that you can provide the Dauntless with, again, the relevant information and permissions so that we can process you into becoming a member of the Dauntless in all the ways that matter. A lot of members, most members, will join the Dauntless first and then consider maybe joining SFI somewhere down the line. Some never end up joining SFI. That's perfectly acceptable. When you do, just remember to fill out this form correctly and to select the USS Dauntless as your chapter of choice so that your name could be linked to ours in the Starfleet database. So once that form has been completed, the join form, that sends a notification to the command staff of the Dauntless, myself included. Sorry, I just see a question there. We can't see the list of chapters, Colonel Hubert. Yes, you can. There is a list of chapters. It's in the database here. Oh, is it off the bottom of your screen? Oh, I see. You couldn't see it on my screen because it's in a pop-up and it doesn't pull through on that's very interesting. I didn't notice that it did that. It's okay. You can take my word for it that there is a drop-down list of chapters there. You can see that same list if you go to the SFI website and check that out if you want to. That's interesting. I didn't realize that this platform didn't pull through those pull downs. Another question, if you do not join SFI, you cannot hold a rank. That's not quite correct. You can hold rank all the way up to Master Chief Petty Officer, so enlisted ranks are available to to non-SFI members. But if you want to switch up and become a commissioned officer, for that you'll need to be a member of SFI, because you need to get the certification available through the academy, specifically the officers training school, and for the higher ranks, commander and above, you need the officers command college. So you can earn rank, but there is a natural ceiling to which ranks you can earn if you are not an SFI member. Colonel Bear asks, does SFI just ever assign you to a ship, or do you have to pick one? If you don't pick one from the list, you'll be allocated to a region. So in this form here, you're giving in your address, so they know which geographic region you live in. Membership services will assign you to that region and list you as unassigned. So the regional coordinator, which happens to be me as well, from my view on the Starfleet database, I can see a list of all of the unassigned members in my region, and then I have the option, and it is my practice to do so. I would reach out to those members and ask them if which of the chapters in the region they would be interested in joining. They can, if they wish, not join any chapter. That's you can do that. You can remain an unassigned member. That's just not really how it's done, but it's possible if you want. But no, you won't just be randomly assigned to a chapter by membership services. You'll be asked which chapter you'd like to be assigned to. All right, so you've completed the form and you've submitted this. This goes through to the command staff, specifically the recruiting officer, the commanding officer, and the executive officer will each get a notification that you have completed this form, and then we will kick off the process. So the process will then generate a card in our Trello board. Trello is a tool used by the operations department, which will give a checklist of items that need to be completed. I'm not going to show you that here because that's internal stuff, but you can take my word for it that that's what happens, and that card is then allocated to the recruiting officer so that he or she can follow up on your membership application. The first checklist item on that list is to send you a letter. So they will email you a letter saying, hi, we've got your application, thank you for sending through, and then they'll send you some basic bits of information that will be relevant as a day one recruit. And that is things like, what is your rank, what away team you are allocated to, if any. They'll send you the name of your direct report, which is typically, if you are a recruit, you'll be reporting directly to the recruiting officer, so they'll send you that officer's name as well. If you are not the leader of your own away team, so if you're joining one of the existing away teams, they'll send you the name of your away team leader, and they will prompt you with a link to go and check out SFI if you would like to join that. Again, you're not required to join that at any point, either then or later, but it's a suggestion that you can do so. The most important thing that comes in that welcome letter is an invitation with a link to come and join our Discord server, which is, again, the central hub of operations for the Dauntless. So if you follow that link, if you don't already have a Discord account, you'll be asked to create one. Once you've created one, you can then click on the link. There'll be a button and it'll bring you to the Dauntless server, which will look like this. It doesn't look like there's very much going on right now. It just says, welcome to the USS Dauntless, and it says, you've just beamed aboard the USS Dauntless. The server is exclusively for crew members and invited guests of the USS Dauntless. Before you are to be allowed to step off the transporter pad, you must identify yourself by completing the transporter control form here. The security department will review your application and grant you access to the areas of the ship you are authorized to access. We can go take a look at that form if you want. It looks like that. Essentially what this does is this is for members who did not provide us with their Discord username when they filled in the join form. This it's just a little form that allows you to link your Discord username here with your real name, your Dauntless position and rank, to verify that you are a real human and you're not just a random person who wandered into our Discord server, that you are actually a member of the crew. This is because we're quite protective of privacy here in our Dauntless Discord server. You'll see that as a new recruit, you don't have access to any of the channels. It's just the transporter bay. There's nothing else that's visible there. Because people are sensitive to having their personal identifying information out there, that includes their name. So we hide all of that until such time as your identity has been verified. So if I show you the member list on the channel here, we only have a couple of members here who have personally volunteered to have their personal identifying information available publicly, and that is myself, the XO, and at the moment a couple of bots. But the chief engineer, as the chief security officer, would also be on this list, and maybe one or two of the other senior staff. We have a question here. that SFI form was the difficult one because I didn't know about regions and chapter. Maybe that's something that can improve on SFI's side. Yes, so that SFI form is going to be going away soon. The database of which this form is a part is very old. It was great by 20 years ago standards, but in fact by 25 years ago standards, it was very cool. But that was a long time ago, and it's been creaky and falling apart ever since. We haven't really been able to keep it updated or do more than basic maintenance, keeping it together. And when I say we, I mean Information Services of Starfleet International. I'm not actually on that team. I'm not involved in doing that, but I get reports from them from time to time as a member of the Admiralty board. So I have an idea of what their struggles have been over the years. So because this is an old and creaky system, it is busy being replaced right now. I believe the current timeline is to have the new database live by the Starfleet International Conference this year, which is sort of August, September. I forget the exact date. It's usually around that time. And then we won't have to worry about this ugly old form. And hopefully there'll be more useful information on the new version of this form, which I haven't yet seen. But yes, it would be a good idea for them to provide more information about that. Of course, all the information about chapters and web and regions and things are available on the SFI website, but that's not right here on this form. So it would be useful to have relevant links or perhaps a little write-up or a little pop-up with information in the relevant spots here. All right, so this is the transporter control form, and you've filled that in order to verify your identity to the security team so that you can be granted the relevant access. I'm not going to show you what access looks like to the rest of the Dauntless for the same reason as you have to provide this verification here, because it's all restricted to internal members only. So members who have already signed their personal identifying information authorization forms so that we know how to handle their personal information. So we don't want to put that out on a publicly visible video like this. The next step on the process, once you've been granted the relevant access to the Discord server, and the access is granted, by the way, in the form of labels. Again, if you hover over my name here on the list, you'll notice that I have a lot of these different labels. These all give me access to different parts of the server, whereas this account that I'm using here is one of our bots. She has no labels attached to her, so she has no access to anything except for the transporter bay channel. Once this has been done, the next step in the process is for the command crew to add you to the crew manifest. Again, that is a private document, so I'm not going to show you what that looks like, but it is the comprehensive list of all Dauntless crew members. It's a spreadsheet that sits behind a lock and key and is available only to select members of the crew who have the correct certifications to be authorized to handle personal identifying information, because that contains not only your name, but also your address and your birthday, if you've decided to share that with us, and any other kind of personally identifying information that you've decided to share is all in that document. So we want to make sure that that is nice and safe and secure. There is a sanitized version of that document, which is available on the Dauntless internal website, which basically just provides a list of names and ranks and positions, and that is available to all members of the crew, but it is not publicly visible. There is no publicly visible list of Dauntless crew members available. We keep that private. The next thing that is created once you've been added to the crew manifest is you get a promotion track document. This is the blank template version of that document. And that is a copy of this document will be created for each new crew member, which will have your name in it here. It'll have the date that you joined the crew. It'll have your SFI security clearance code. That's your Starfleet membership number. Will be added in that field there, just so that we have a point of reference. And then in these blocks here, we will fill in your current rank. Typically, if you are a raw recruit, your rank would be crewman recruit, your promotion date, which would be the date that you joined, the next rank, which would be crewman apprentice, and an image of the rank insignia that would appear on your uniform if you were wearing a uniform. We would also then in this section list the requirements. So if you go back and look at the briefing we did a little while back on ranks and promotions, what the requirements are for promotion to the next rank. So we'd fill that in here, and then this document would then be shared with you as the recruit, so that you and your department head, which is at this time the recruiting officer, and the rest of the command staff can help to manage your promotions accordingly. When an item is checked off the list, it's checked off here. We'll also place comments to note if specific items are in progress, or if there are If there's a time gate associated with it, we'll put in a comment what the relevant time is for that kind of thing. Again, I'm not going to show you anybody's live promotion track document because that would be inappropriate, but you can visualize what that would look like. So this is a collaborative document that is shared between the command staff and the member in question to help to keep track of that person's promotion track. When you have earned promotion to the next rank, we'll create a new page, which then has the relevant information on the new page, and we can keep track of those requirements for the next promotion and so on. So you've got something of a history of your staff lead career in your promotion track document, which is pretty cool. So that gets created and assigned to you. And then you get passed on to the security department, who will grant you access to all kinds of other things. We have a lot of systems on board. So like this promotion track document, for example, the internal website, what we call the Dauntless main computer, which is this place here, you'll be granted access to that, to various sections of the Dauntless Discord. The security department hold the keys to all of our various secure systems, and they will go through a list of those systems and provide you access to the systems that you need access to and the appropriate level of that access. Then once you are fully ensconced inside of our Discord server, you will get a welcome message, typically from me. I'm usually the one who does that, welcoming you to everybody and introducing you to everybody so that everyone in the crew can see that we have a new recruit on board and they can offer you whatever welcomes and congratulations they feel are necessary. So that's just a little text message, usually in the bridge channel, so that we can see what's going on there. Next, you will be added to the away team list. So this is only relevant to crew members who are joining us from new areas that previously didn't have an away team assigned. You'll be given a new allocation on the away team. So these are our away team leaders, and these are the various away team locations in the world. So we would add a new one of these to the list. You'll be assigned the next available letter in the Greek alphabet for your away team, and you'd be added to this map so that you can see what happens there. Then you would be invited to social media. So that's, again, our chief communications officer. Typically, I would also do that myself. Usually, I would go and try and find you on Facebook or Instagram or both, and I would send you a friend request so that I can invite you then to both like our Facebook page and to join our Facebook group. These are auxiliary communication channels that we use outside of Discord, but some people like to use them, so we keep those active for as long as people have use for them. So we'll invite you to those as well. Then we will begin the orientation program. So this is what happens with the, this will be operated by the recruiting officer. At the moment, that is done via the emergency recruiting hologram, which is one of the bots that we operate here on Discord. Now, the orientation program is a 5-day course designed to get you up to speed on the very basic stuff that you need in order to be a USS Dauntless crew member. Think of it as basic training. Only instead of doing obstacle courses in the mud, you are answering questions about what the Dauntless life is like. The recruiting officer will send you a private message or open a thread for you on Discord and ask you to let him or it know when you're ready. When you give it the signal, it will begin you on this 5-day course. The course consists of a write-up, a page or so of text with a video version of that same document. It'll give you some links to the Dauntless website where you can go do some additional reading, and then at the end it'll take you to an exam, which is usually just 2 or 3 questions. You're expected to answer multiple choice. You can look up in those original source documents to see what the correct answer might be. The answer is that the point of the exam is not so much to get you to memorize all the information. It's more about helping you to navigate our various resources so that you learn where to find the information that you need. So you find the information, you fill in the test. Once you've got scored 100%, so that's 3 out of 3 for the test, you have then completed the day's training and may move on to the next one. You can do the test as many times as you want until you get full marks. And then this course is over 5 days. The first day, as you can see, handles ranks. The second day, I believe, is away teams. The third is departments, then uniforms, and then Staff Lead International. Now, we break this up over 5 days, again, as part of that filtering mechanism that I mentioned at the beginning. We want to make sure that the applicant who's going through this orientation program is dedicated enough to the process that they're prepared to stick it out to the end. They're not just going to be a fly-by-night operator. By the time that they get to the the end of that 5-day orientation program, they'll have all the necessary access and will know all of the various places that they need to go in order to find the information that they need, and also then to find the next step of the process. But before the next step, which is your assignment to a position, at this stage you typically get your first rank promotion. So the requirement for your first rank promotion is that you have completed the orientation course, which is this course here. Once you've completed all 5 days of the course, that means you are eligible for promotion. Sometimes that only happens at month end. Sometimes the command staff will make a special exception and process promotions in the middle of the month if they feel like that's warranted. But that means that you are eligible once you've completed this course. And then we go on to the next stage, which is requesting assignment to a department. So as part of this orientation exam, you get a chance to look through the various departments of the crew, get a sense of which departments you're interested in serving in. Once you've made a choice, you will then go to the standard position application form and select which department you would like to serve in. Oh, this pop-up shows. That's weird. I don't know why that works that way. But you can see here are all the departments listed. You choose which department you'd like to serve in, and the senior staff will evaluate your decision for, typically takes a day or two for everybody to weigh in with any comments they might have about it. Once everybody's agreed, then you will be reassigned to the department that you chose as a standard position. So you'll be a medical technician or a science technician or something like that. And then you can begin the long journey of your Starfleet career. You can start working towards your first duty station volunteer position. You can start contributing in any other way that you would like to do. That is kind of the end of the onboarding process. There is an addendum to the onboarding process for members who are having a hard time choosing which department they would like to serve in, and this, it can be a hard decision for some people. Maybe you've got multiple departments and you like them all equally, or maybe you don't feel all that settled in any one department specifically. You'd like to learn more about it. We have what we call the extended orientation program, which allows those crew members in that situation to spend a limited amount of time in each department one by one for a week. So first week they spend in the communications department, then a week in engineering, then a week in medical, and a week in operations science and security. The one department they don't get to spend a week in is command, because we don't have standard positions in command. So it's not one that you can request assignment to at this stage anyway. But once they've spent some time in each one of those departments, kind of like a mini internship, they get a sense for which departmental culture or activity they have the best alignment with, and they can then go through and request that assignment, which will then end the extended orientation program. All right, so we've got a couple of comments that have come through. We've got something from Chief Kotze. It'll be nice for new recruits to introduce themselves on Discord. Yes, that is nice. I recognize that most new recruits can be shy. It can be pretty daunting. Even though we are the Dauntless, it can be pretty daunting to jump into a server that's full of channels and full of active people like us. So it can be a little scary. That's fine, but it is nice if new recruits say hi, because then that helps us to build that relationship. Kotz also says that on the SFI database, the member eligibility page also has very nice basic information about your academy certificates and award, only if you're an SFI member. That is correct, yes. So once you log into the database, once you have your SFI membership up and running, if you decide to do that, the member eligibility page shows you your member history from an SFI point of view. So it shows you what your current rank is, when you were assigned that rank, how long you've been a member of Starfleet, what courses or rewards you've received in your Starfleet career over the years. It's a nice summary. It leads out a lot of information, and we're hoping that the new database might include some of the other information that that the database has stored in its memory banks, that hopefully it'll add it to that timeline. But we'll see how that turns out. Captain Frankranian points out that it's a difference between the Google versus the SFI site. Yes, the Google site is nice, and yes, that's probably why it's showing those drop downs, whereas the SFI site didn't show it. Different languages or different engineering or whatever. It's fine. It's just an interesting quirk of the streaming software that I'm using here. Chief Kotze says the department rotation program was great. I think we invented the extended orientation program for Chief Kotze, because back when he was a raw recruit, he was having a hard time deciding where he wanted to serve. But it's turned out to be a great program, and I'm very pleased that was beneficial to Chief Kotze and has been to some other recruits over the years since then. All right. I'm not sure if we have anything else we need to cover. There's no more questions, at least on YouTube. And I see that Captain von Kroenen there has made some trouble comments. You're welcome to go and take a look there if you'd like. No more questions here on Discord. So I think we're going to call it at that. Right. So this has been, again, a run through of the orientation or onboarding process for new recruits. And again, the details of this will change over time. As you saw, there are a lot of moving parts, and these things are constantly shifting as new systems become more prevalent over others. We lose access to old systems. There's a lot of variables, and these things will vary from time to time. So, for example, the new database will probably change at least the SFI component of the onboarding process significantly when that goes live in a few months' time. So, if you're watching this from the future, don't be too surprised if the process that you undergo looks a little bit different, but the general principles should be the same. All right. Again, this has turned out to be much longer than I expected. I thought this would be a 10-minute episode, and here we are at 35 and a half minutes, but that's just how it goes sometimes. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, you're welcome to drop comments or questions on YouTube or Facebook. You're welcome to reach out and message me in any other way that you think might work, with Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and we will do our best to address your questions or concerns. But that's going to be it for now, I think. Thank you for joining us. Swart out.